At the end of this video presentation, you are expected to, number 1, represent real-life situations using functions, and number 2, solve word problems that apply the concept of functions. Actually, this lesson is the most difficult part because we are going to apply the basic concepts that we have already learned from the previous video presentations that we have, particularly the basic functions and their graphs. How are we going to apply these functions in solving real life situations? But prior to that, before we are going to solve the problems, we are going to represent first the situation through variables and equations. And the equations that we're going to represent these real life situations are the equations that we have already discussed regarding linear functions, constant function, we have the absolute value function, quadratic function, cubic function, and we have the identity function, and we have also the piecewise function. And this is problem number 1. I'm going to read first the problem, and we are going to analyze what is being imparted by this problem. After reading the problem, we are going to internalize what will be the given and what will be the unknown. And we are going to represent the unknown through variables, and we are going to represent real life situation through equations. And the equations that we're going to apply are just only basic equations, but the problem is how are we going to analyze the problem, because solving problems in mathematics is very difficult because the prerequisite is the comprehension and how are we going to translate the problem into mathematical expressions. Okay, this is problem number 1. Mr. Maliga's pizza cost 50 pesos with the first topping. It means that in every pizza that you are going to buy, there is automatically a free, which is the first topping, and it is already included in the 50 pesos cost. And then, an additional 10 pesos for each additional topping is charged for the buyer. It means that if you're going to have the 2 additional toppings, that is additional 20 pesos. But if you're going to buy a pizza with 4 toppings, it means that out of that 4, 1 topping is already free, and that is already included in the 50 pesos. And what you need to do is to pay only additional 30 pesos because we have the 3 additional toppings. So the question is, what function represents the cost of a pizza with at least 1 topping? How are you going to represent the situation in a variable in an equation applying the concept of functions? Another problem is if there are 3 toppings, it means you have the 2 additional toppings because 1 topping there is already free and it is included already in the 50 pesos cost. How much does the pizza cost? Another question is, if there are 5 additional toppings, it means that 1 topping there is not included from the statement of the problem here. How much does the pizza cost? Now, our solution goes like this way. Let X represent the number of additional toppings on a pizza and Y represent the amount of a pizza. Take note, X is the independent variable and Y is the dependent variable because the amount of pizza that we are going to pay is dependent upon to the number of additional toppings that we want to order. How are we going to represent this real life situation in equation using the basic function? Y is equal to 10x plus 50, and X, take note, is the number of additional toppings on a pizza, and 10 is the amount of additional toppings on a pizza that we want to order. And this is the slope of the line, and the y-intercept is 50 pesos, and this 50 pesos is the amount that we are going to pay if we are going to buy a pizza with the first topping. Now, the first question is, what function represents the cost of a pizza with at least one topping? And this is the answer. Y is equal to 10x plus 50. And this is the equation that we are going to use in solving the two other problems that we have in the problem. The next problem is that if there are three toppings, how much does the pizza cost? If one topping is free from the 50 pesos, it means that there are only two toppings that we have. Therefore, this is our solution. Y is equal to 10 times 2 plus 50 if x is equal to 2. Why 2? Because there are three toppings. One topping there is already free and that is already included in the amount of 50 pesos. That is why if you are going to buy a pizza with three toppings and one of the toppings is already free, you are going to pay 70 pesos because 10 times 2 is equal to 20 plus 50 is equal to 70. Now, how are you going to use this specific equation of a linear function in solving problem number 3? And this is, if there are 5 additional toppings, how much does the pizza cost? Now, take note, in the statement of the problem, 5 additional toppings is very specific. Therefore, 1 free is not mentioned in this problem. Therefore, our x here is equal to 5. And our equation will be y is equal to 10 times 5 plus 50 if x is equal to 5. Do not subtract 5 with 1 because the problem is very specific that there are 5 additional toppings because as what we have represented just a while ago, x is the number of additional toppings on a pizza. That is why this problem is very specific. Unlike with the problem number 2 in which what is stated is there are 3 toppings. It means that one free topping there is included in the 3 toppings. That is why we subtracted 1 from the 3 toppings. That is why we just only pay 70 pesos if we are going to buy a pizza with 3 toppings. Now, how about if we want to buy a pizza with 5 additional toppings? Therefore, all in all, there are 6 toppings because one free topping is not mentioned in the problem. Now, what we are going to do here is to multiply 10 by 5 and that is equal to 50 and added with 50 and the amount that we are going to pay is 100 pesos if we want to buy a pizza with 5 additional toppings. Now, since this is a problem solving, we are going to state our final answer in a sentence. And that is answering all the 3 specific questions that we have in the problem. Problem number 1 states this way. What function represents the cost of a pizza with at least one topping? And our answer is y is equal to 10x plus 50 represents the cost of a pizza with at least one topping. And if there are 3 toppings, the pizza costs 70 pesos. And this is the answer for the problem number 2. Now, the answer for problem number 3 is if there are 5 additional toppings, the pizza costs 100 pesos. That is how you are going to solve problems, is to understand very well the message of the problem. Take note, the prerequisite of solving problem in mathematics is reading comprehension. How are you going to understand the problem? And that is to represent the real-life situations using the basic functions that we have already discussed. And the most commonly employed or applied basic function is the linear function. We will proceed with problem number 2. Mrs. Mohaima Ukum is in the business of repairing home computers. Meaning, Mrs. Mohaima is having a repair shop in which computers, the damaged computers, will be brought to her shop for repair. C charges a base fee of 1,500 for each visit and 350 per hour for her labor. It means that if you have already the agreement that you are going to let Mrs. Mohaima Ukum repair your home appliance or your home computers. So, you can automatically be charged of 1,500 and additional 350 will be charged to you if you are going to visit the shop. Okay. And that is 350 pesos per hour. Every visit, you are going to pay 1,500. And every hour of the labor is charged with 350 pesos. What function represents the total cost for a home visit and hours of labor? Take note, before we are going to have the answer of this final question, we are going to represent first the situation with equation. Because this equation involves the two variables. We have the x, and this is our independent variable, and we have the y, and this is our dependent variable. And this is the final question. How much a customer will pay if he has two visits? If it means that if the customer has only one visit, he is charged with 1,500. So if he has two visits, that 1,500 times 2 will become 3,000 already. And that is for the visits only. Now, for each visit, a customer has 2 hours of labor. Then, per visit, the customer has 2 hours. It means that there are 2 visits that the customer has. It means that the number of hours being charged to him is 4 hours because each visit has 2 hours of labor. So what will be our equation first? That represent the real life situation of this particular problem. Okay, this is our solution. Let x represent the hours of labor and y represent the amount of a customer will pay for 2 visits and 2 hours of labor per visit. Okay, there are 2 variables being involved in this particular problem. Okay, what is our equation here? Y is equal to 350x plus 3,000. Why 350? Because every hour of labor, you are charged with 350. Why 3,000? Because you have 2 visits. 2 times 1,500 is equal to 3,000. Okay, now, your x represents the represents the hours of labor. How many hours that you have? 2 hours per visit. It means you have 2 times 2 is equal to 4. So you're going to substitute x with 4 so that you can determine how much you are going to pay for your home computers. Okay, therefore, y is equal to 350 times 4 plus 3,000. Okay, 350 times 4 is what? 350 times 2 is equal to 700. Therefore, 700 times 2 is equal to 1,400. If you don't have the calculator, you have the technique how you are going to get the answer. But if you have the calculator, you are very free to use your scientific calculator because in problem solving, we cannot have the immediate answer if we do not have the scientific calculator because as of this moment, scientific calculator is very encouraged for the students to use to speed up the activities or the work activities. Okay, because businessmen are using scientific calculators for easy computation. Now, if there is no scientific calculator, you can have your technique. How are you going to solve simple arithmetic? Okay, 350 times 4 is equal to 1,400 plus 3,000 is equal to 4,400. Take note, in your final answer, don't forget the unit of measurement. And the unit of measurement is pesos because you are going to pay a certain amount. In the Philippines, the currency is Philippine peso. That is why we have here the PHP. This means Philippine peso. Now, since that this is a word problem, you are going to have your final answer written into sentence. Okay, therefore, y is equal to 350x plus 3,000 represents the amount a customer will pay for home computer. And a customer will pay a total of 4,400 pesos for 2 visits and 2 hours of labor per visit. Okay. Okay, this is problem number 3. A computer shop salesman receives a weekly allowance of 3,500 pesos and a 6% commission on all sales. Write a function to represent the weekly earnings of a salesman. Find the salesman's earnings for a week if he has 50,000 pesos total sales. What were the salesman's total sales for a week in which his earnings were 9,500? Take note, a salesman has a constant salary of 3,500 whether to have the sale or no sale in that week. But the higher the total sales that he has for that particular week, the higher the additional salary that he will have in that week. That is why a customer is doing everything, is doing all the best in his sales stock in order to attract customers to buy computers to have the higher total sales because he has the 6% commission on the total sales that he has. Now, what you need to do is to write first a function to represent the weekly earnings of salesman. And this is the final question. Find the salesman's earnings for a week if he has 50,000 total sales. It means that if he has a total sales of 50,000 pesos per a week, you are going to compute for the 6% of this 50,000 pesos. And after having the result of computing the 6% of 50,000 pesos, you are going to add that result to 3,500 and that is the salary of the salesman. Now, for instance, how are we going to look for the 6% of 50,000. Take note, percent is to be converted into decimal. So how are you going to convert percent in decimal? From this point, you are going to move the decimal point 2 digits to the left. So therefore, 1, 2. Therefore, 6% would be 0.06. And that is the decimal for 6%, 0.06 times 50,000 pesos. Okay, you are going to use scientific calculator because this involves percent or decimal. It's very hard to have the manual manipulation of the solution if we do not have the scientific calculator. So look for the 6% of the 50,000. It means that you have 0.06 times 50,000 and this is 3,000. And 3,000 added to 3,500 is the salary of the salesman for that particular week. Therefore, he is going to receive 6,500. And this is just only an initial solution because we are going to have the solution in the final solution part of our problem. Total weekly salary of 9,500. What were the salesman total sales for a week in which his earnings were 9,500? It means that you are going to subtract 9,500 by 3,500. Therefore, 9,500 minus 3,500 is equal to 6,000. This is our solution. The first thing that we're going to do is to use the variable x for our independent variable and variable y for our dependent variable. Now, we are going to let x be the salesman's total sales and y be his total earnings in a week. X is our independent variable and y is our dependent variable, because the salary of the salesman depends upon to the total sales that he has for that particular week. Now, how are we going to answer the problem number 1? How are we going to represent the weekly earnings of the salesman using a particular function? That is why we are going to have this. Y is equal to 0.06x plus 3,500. Where does 3,500 come from? From the constant salary of a salesman. Whether he has a sales for that particular week or not, he is going to receive 3,500. And addition of 6% commission will be given to him for the total sales that he has. And where does 0.06 come from? And that is from the 6% commission. You are going to convert 6% into decimal. Okay, converting percent into decimal. Okay, this is our decimal point here. We are going to move the decimal point 2 digits to the left of the number. That is why 6%, if we are going to convert that into decimal, that is equivalent to 0.06, because we cannot automatically apply the percent in our solution, because percent should be converted first into decimal. Okay. 3,500 is our constant, and the slope of the line is 0.06, but because this is a linear function, this is a linear function in the form slope intercept form. Now, because the salary of the salesman is dependent from the total sales that he has for that particular week. That is why our equation is represented by y is equal to 0.06x plus 3,500. Now, the second question is, how much is the salary of the salesman if he has a total sales of 50,000 pesos? What are we going to do in this particular problem number 2? We are going to substitute x with 50,000. Okay, so we are going to substitute. This is it. Our x is 50,000 because x is representing the total sales of the salesman, and y is representing the total earnings in a week of that particular salesman. Now, what is the 6% of 50,000 pesos? Okay, the technique, if you do not have your scientific calculator, is just only multiply. 6 times 5 is 3. No? Therefore, 6% of 50,000 or 0.06 times 50,000 is 3,000. And that will be added to 3,500, which is the constant salary of the salesman. Now, if we are going to add this one, 3,000 and 3,500, that will result to 6,500. And this is the salary of the salesman if he has a total sales of 50,000 pesos for that particular week. How about this question? What were the salesman's total sales for a week in which his total earnings were 9,500? For that particular week, he had a salary of 9,500. Now, if you're going to subtract 3,500 from 9,500, the result is 6,000. And 6,000 is the total commission that he had for that particular week. Now, the question is, how much was his total sales for that particular week if he has a total commission of 6 6,000 pesos. Okay. Therefore, our Y is given because according to this problem, the total earnings of a computer shop buyer is 9,500. That is why that is our Y, which is the total earnings of the salesman. So we are going to use this particular equation to substitute the given because we are going to look for the value of X, because the question is what were the salesman's total sales, and total sales is represented by the variable X. Okay, this is our equation. 9,500 is equal to 0.06x plus 3,500 because we already substituted y with 9,500 because that is the total earnings of the salesman. Then afterwards, we are going to use the so-called symmetric property of equality in which right quantity of the equation will be brought in the left side of the equation and the right side will be brought in the left side without changing the sign. And this is it. Because we are going to have our variable on the left side so that we can have our standard answer by and by. What is the next step here? We are going to subtract both sides of the equation with 3,500 so that we can cancel this out. In Filipino method of solution, we are going to transpose 3,500 to the right side. So therefore, this is the resulting equation because we are looking for the value of X. Okay, we are going to simplify this right side of the equation. Therefore, we have 0.06x is equal to 6,000. Now, our objective here is to have the value of X only in the left side so that whatever the constant on the right side will be automatically the value of X. What are we going to do? We are going to get the reciprocal of 0.06 and we are going to use this reciprocal to multiply both sides of the equation. Or another way is dividing both sides of the equation with the coefficient of the variable. And this is it. We are multiplying both sides of the equation with the reciprocal of 0.06 and this is it. 1 over 0.06 times 0.06 is cancelled out. This is equal to 1 because we can cancel this out. Okay, therefore, 1 times x is equal to x by and by. Therefore, 6,000 divided by 0.06 is equal to 100,000 pesos because this is already cancelled out and we have only the variable X in the left side. Therefore, the total sales of a particular computer shop in that week is 100,000 pesos because 6% of 100,000 pesos is 6,000 and 6,000 is added to 3,500 that resulted to 9,500 which is the total earnings of the computer shop salesman. Now, since that this problem is a word problem, we are going to give our final answer in a statement, in a sentence. Therefore, y is equal to 0.06x plus 3,500 represents the weekly earnings of a salesman. Take note, whatever the question, whatever the requirement asked in the problem will be answered in our final answer. Do not give answer which is beyond the question. Answer only what is required. Therefore, we are going to answer the 3 particular questions in our problem number 3. Number 1 is, what is the function that represent the weekly earnings of the salesman? And the answer is, y is equal to 0.06x plus 3,500. That is our equation or the function, and this is a linear function. Now, The second question is, how much was the earning of a salesman if he has a total sales of 50,000 pesos? 6% of 50,000 pesos is 3,000. 3,000 plus 3,500 is 6,500, and that is our answer just a while ago. Now, therefore, he had a total earnings of 6,500 if he had a total sales of 50,000 pesos. Now, his total sales for a week were 100,000 pesos if he had a total salary of 9,500. Okay, that is problem number 3. And we are going to proceed with your third assignment this new normal school year 2020-2021, particularly first semester of this school year. And this is your assignment. Apply the concept of basic functions to solve each of the following problems. There are 7 problems and you are going to choose only 5 out of 7. Okay, problem number 1. And this is very similar with problem number 1 that we have already solved just a while ago. A rental company charges a flat fee of 150 pesos and an additional 25 pesos per mile to rent a moving van. Write an equation to represent the amount of a rental fee. How much would a 85-mile trip cost? How many miles of travel would cost 2,650 pesos? Okay, problem number 2. School soccer team players are selling candles to raise money for an upcoming field trip. Each player has 24 candles to sell. If a player sells 4 candles, a profit of 150 pesos is made. Write an equation. This is the first requirement that you are going to solve in problem number 2. Write an equation to represent the profit. Take note, you cannot solve the problem without the equation. And that is why that is the very first requirement. How are you going to represent real-life situations through functions? Okay. Question number 2. If each player is able to sell all the 24 candles, how much profit does he receive? Another question. If one player makes a profit of 600 pesos, how many candles does he sell? If another player sells 22 candles, how much profit does he receive? I think there are 4 questions in this particular problem. And answer all of these questions. Then take note, your final answer must be in a statement or sentence because this is a problem solving. Okay, problem number 3. A game rental store charges 750 pesos to rent the console and the game. 150 pesos is charged per additional hour. Determine the cost of renting for 15 hours. Determine the hours if the rental fee is 7,500. There are 2 questions in this particular problem number 3. Problem number 4. A train leaves a station and moves at a certain speed. After 2 hours, another train leaves from the same station and moves in the same station also at a speed of 60 kilometers per hour. If it catches up with the first train in 4 hours, what is the speed of the first train? Problem number 5. A Globe subscriber is charged 300 pesos monthly for a particular mobile plan, which includes 100 free text messages. Text messages in excess of 100 are charged 1 peso each. Represent the amount of a subscriber he pays each month as a function of the number of messages represented by small letter M. Sent in a month. If a subscriber is able to send 1,000 messages in a month, how much will be his bill in that specific month? Problem number 6. An athlete begins the normal practice for the next marathon during evening. At 6 p.m., he starts to run and leaves his home. At 7:30 p.m., he finishes the run at home and has run a total of 7.5 miles. Represent his average speed over the course of run. How many miles did he run after the first half hour? If he kept running at the same pace for a total of 3 hours, it means the same speed. How many miles will he have run? And last number is, initially, trains A and B are 325 miles away from each other. Train A is traveling towards B at 50 miles per hour, and Train B is traveling towards A at 80 miles per hour. At what time will the two trains meet? At this time, how far did the trains travel? Now, if you have any questions or clarifications regarding the problem because the problems are not clear to you, you can send me a message in my messenger, in our group chat, and I will be giving you an idea. I will be giving you a clue how you are going to solve the problem. Okay, that ends our video presentation this day. Once again, stay safe and stay healthy. Stay beautiful. Stay handsome, everybody.